Hey there, welcome to the Luce Lemire channel. Welcome to your weekly guidance. So last week's weekly guidance was really kind of crazy. I feel like this is guidance for the week of the 28th to the 3rd. I just feel like last week's guidance was kind of wild. It seemed like each message was people on the same road, but at different like phases. So I'm going to do this as a one thing because I'm feeling like maybe the people that are particularly watching this, and if you found this video, then this is maybe a journey that you're traveling with some of the fellow people that are watching this. So for you guys, I just, rather than splitting it into different piles and you may be missing a slice of each pile that may have your message, I'm just gonna do a full just like boop 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 boop, right? So because I feel like for those watching the guidance, there's something around the corner, and there's something around the river bend. And I want to anchor into that, and see what that guidance is for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. What is the guidance for my people watching this right now, people who have found this video, those who are tracking this energy? And in this energy, Lord, please, what is the guidance for this person? Come on, Spirit. Okay, so interesting. We have the Five of Wands, the Knight of Swords, the Chariot in reverse, and the Two of Pentacles. I'm giggling because there's a journey happening here, and I feel like there's an undercurrent of a journey. There's like a spiritual journey taking place that is being felt in the human cognitive, like the human space, in our space, in the space that you're feeling in your world. And it's moving to me in the spirit, but it's not moving. It doesn't look like there's much happening in the outside. But I feel like this is one of those things where it's like you're overwhelmed or underwhelmed, and you don't quite know which one it is. Like there's a certain underwhelm that is overwhelming, and an overwhelm that is overwhelming, but it's also underwhelming because it may not have much to do with you. It may have to do with other people, or it could have something to do with you. But it feels like there's so many different feelers that all fall into this essence. Something is happening, and also something is not happening, and both of those are true. So that's why there's to me, I'm calling this a spiritual undercurrent, where there is something happening. There is something happening. And for some of you, you are seeing this in the real world, but there is something happening in the spirit, while at the same time, there might not be things happening in the outside world, but also things are happening in the outside world. But it feels like on a day-to-day basis that not much is happening. Maybe I spent like 3 minutes describing that. I hope you feel what I'm feeling if you're in this energy. This feels really kind of constricting. It really kind of does. I feel like you want movement. You want time to move. You want to go where you want to go, but at the same time, see the value in, see some kind of little value in where you're at. Like there's a gift in where you're at. There's a sense of, it's like a kid going to school for the first time. Like they know almost that they do have to go to school, but they also don't want to leave like their parents, right? Like there's this energy there of like keeping the hand on the railing of the pool while your body is getting submerged, because you know you have to go over there, or like you know it's gonna happen, but like a part of you doesn't, is still sort of holding on. Like, but this is more well, I'm not sure on what level that is on, but I feel like there's an energy there, and it's I'm feeling it in my chest anyway. So you don't move. You don't quite go anywhere, or it feels like you don't, but it also feels like you do. At any rate, this is supposed to be guidance, but it feels like it's describing the situation, and I feel like if I was to take what I just said as a situation, I mean as guidance, it's yes, like that is the guidance. There is a conflict in the type of movement that you want to make, greater and smaller, because you don't quite know what to do. You're doing things, but it also feels like you're not doing things. You're juggling things, you're moving through life, but it feels like you're also not moving through life, but you are moving through life, but it feels like you're not. Let's talk more about this guidance. And I feel like that guidance is saying spirit sees you, right? Spirit sees you. And that is exactly where you are meant to be in a way, because there is no set place to go yet, because perhaps spirit, and I'm a kind of a wishy-washy, I don't know, I'm a spiritual person, but I'm also a human being, and what I was about to say is that's because spirit is preparing where you need to go. I want to know how much of this is spirit and how much of this is you needing to decide where you want to go, or you not being in a place yet to fully decide where you want to go, because you need to still go through those ebbs and flows, those ups and downs, so you can form into the being that is able to then decide, flip the chariot up and go. Because otherwise right now you may not know, or spiritually it just may not be the right time for you to be making any big decisions. However, if you are someone who's already made a big decision, there could be some conflict in your head about said decision. Oh my god. Okay. I'm really glad that this came. I'm really glad that this came out, because I feel like the further guidance that spirit wants you to know is, again, to repeat one of the messages from last week, is to show yourself some more grace. To let go of your burdens and really see what actually does need. That's funny. 5 of Cups. What actually does need the energy that you are putting in. This is a really big hug of a message, and of course it's guidance, right? I mean, sometimes guidance is like, get your butt back in here. But this is a really big hug, I feel like, because this feels like each of these sticks feels like demands. It feels like obligations, and not quite knowing what's yours and what's like required of you in for some of you, or all the things that you're carrying, right? All the things that you feel like you have to do and put yourself into. And each of these, for some of you, this is which project to put your passions into, right? It doesn't have to be doom, gloom, and problems, but it could be which of your passions you need to put your time into, which of your you know, all the things that are on your plate that you care about, that you don't care about, that people expect you to care about, that you've always cared about but maybe don't as much anymore. Which ones are worth holding on to? Because at this point you cannot put yourself into all those things, right? Like, what is the thing that you want to dedicate yourself to, or what are those things that you are going to carry as they duke it out in this 5? And it's exhausting. Like, it is truly exhausting to think about all those things. And unfortunately, it almost feels like there is a point where you do sort of not break down, but a point where you have a come to Jesus moment where you're overwhelmed by what you have going on in your world, or you just kind of like have a second where you catch yourself and go, as you're doing something, this isn't actually as important to me as I thought. Like, this isn't something that is as important to me as I really want to put my energy into. And that's kind of a beautiful moment, because at that point, then you really can get to start cutting the wheat from the chaff, cutting the things that you don't want to invest your time in, so that you can spend time with the things that you can spend time with. I feel like this becomes about boundaries, but the fact that you have so many conflicts going on in your being may be also manifesting themselves as not doing much of anything. This is laying around, indulging in inactivity. I mean, for some of you, maybe you go ham at the gym, but I feel like this is an overwhelm and a conflict and I don't know where to put my energy in, so I don't put my energy in too much of anything. Or you have that moment where you're just so tired that you have what I like to call a fuck it moment. Once you get to fuck it moment, man, you can really do damage. You would do so much damage when you get to fuck it mode. And as you're trying to like figure out what you do want to do, I feel like you oscillate between doing nothing and then having a burst of energy and doing something, and then you use so much energy that you just you sort of back down. I lost my point. Oh my goodness. That you sometimes don't make as much progress as you would have liked to, but it's still a bit of progress. It's still something. Because on a meta level, on a spiritual level, the more the more you get yourself to fuck it mode, the more you get yourself to, okay, the closer you get to taking better care of yourself. So even if you do find yourself sitting around a lot, thinking too much, but it's allowing you to sit down, at least you're getting that moment to sit down, you know, to gather your bearings and see what is important to you, because that's where you'll see that you're not getting as drained as you would doing other things that you're doing. I hope that makes sense. Oh my God, I hope that makes sense. So I feel like as you juggle the things that you're juggling, as you're doing the things that you're doing, and as much as it is overwhelming and underwhelming at the same time, and feels like everything is happening and also nothing is happening, and you want things to happen, but they're not happening, or they're happening too slow, and there's just sort of this like mental frenzy, or this physical frenzy this week. I have to say that to like reduce the pressure of the energy this week. That energy is getting you to be actively sifting through where you do want to put your energy in a longer term way, if that makes sense. No, it doesn't? Cool. Let me get some backup guidance from here. So funny, because the Hermit does feel like the Wizard of Awareness. A lot of these, oh my God, these messages feel like messages from before. I mean, yeah, strength in reverse. It does talk about health. The number 44. And not being supported in some ways. We have unexpected visitors in protection and gentle gardener in protection as well. It would behoove you to get into a more positive mental state of this week, of not planting negative what ifs and putting too much energy in those, but having more of a pivot, even especially internally, over where you do want to go, how you do want things to be, and how you're excited for them to eventually come to fruition, right? Because you might find that there's certain ways that you've been thinking that have taken away from you over time. Some weeds that you've planted that don't need to be there, that need to be removed, or a plant that you planted that was what you needed for a while and it's sort of overtaken your garden and you need to really do some work to cut that back so that other things can come to fruition in your life. Thinking about like bamboo does that, or if you've been doing too much shadow work, for some of you, you don't want to do so much shadow work that you get swallowed in the shadow and you didn't give yourself enough space to be in the light. Shadow work is amazing, but if you don't watch yourself, you might find yourself in a place where you're spending too much time in the shadow, and then you make your light the shadow, you know? Yeah, and I've talked about shadow work. I don't know how you handle shadow work, but to me, I handle the shadow. To me is what we've deemed as inappropriate, right? Emotions, feelings, actions. And sometimes we go into those areas of our world and deep dive into, acknowledging what we've made inappropriate, how we've been inappropriate, or whatever, and, sifting through that space. But then sometimes you just put too much of your focus there that you forget about the things that we've deemed as appropriate, how they're not bad. What's in the light isn't necessarily bad. What's in the shadow isn't necessarily bad. They make us as a whole. And so you might now have to start doing like reverse shadow work or something. You heard it here first, folks. Reverse shadow work, where you start pivoting your attention more into the light, right? Or at least having more of a healthier balance between these two aspects of yourself, where you're not just focusing on the shadowy parts of your consciousness, things that you may have done wrong or things that have hurt you, and spending time with those and healing those. It might, and just facing them and sitting with them, it might be time for you to sit with your light self. Yeah, be aware of your motives as well. And how you do what you do and why you're doing what you're doing. Pay close attention to what you are putting out there for yourself, because people, they won't know your heart, right? And sometimes that's just a bit difficult. So anyway, I feel like maybe you have had just some unexpected results as from how you've been thinking about certain things and your coping mechanisms in the past. And this week we're kind of reminded that it's a good week to sit down and reflect and see where you really want to put your energy in, right? And we may have gotten bad news. You may have gotten unpleasant just because unexpected visitors is here. But I feel like unexpected visitors could also be realizing that what you've been thinking about the situation isn't the truth of the situation. It is your truth, but your truth does not mean it is the right truth or the one true truth. It's just a part of a truth. And that truth can change. So by perspective, by finding out one thing. So I feel like with this unexpected visitors, there's sort of this realization that, oh my goodness, there's maybe something I've been thinking, something that I've been having a conflict over that I'm willing to release now, or I'm willing to afford myself the release. And you now start to adapt to the situation and really think on yourself, accept what is, and move into more fulfilling path that over time will be more effective to the world that the type of week that you are wanting for yourself. So I feel like whatever the circumstances are in your world, they're there to help stall and course correct, so that so that you're not so far from where your soul wants to take you in the long run. Okay? I hope that makes this week. Look. So, I'll see you next week for the reading. I hope that your 28th to the 23rd is good, and that you are being gentle with yourself and showing yourself grace and showing up for yourself as well. I feel like there were some messages here that had people in them, and impressing people and doing what we need to do for them to see us a certain way can be very heavy to carry. And if that's one of the sticks that you are letting go, that's not an easy stick to let go of. It's not an easy stick to drop, because there are those fears of, will they still accept me? And they may not. And that has to be okay. They should be allowed to not accept. I feel like they should be allowed to not accept you, because you are allowed to not accept people that you don't particularly want in your world. And sometimes it is a harsh reality to see that we can be that type of personality that people may not want around us, or long term, or something like that, right? And sometimes those experiences and our people pleasing can be gifts, because we get to see, okay, is this something that I've just been called out on by this person, or is this something that I really want to do? It's interesting. So I feel like with the Hermit showing up and the Two of Pentacles being clarified by the Hermit, there's a lot of choice in the juggling. And before we make any sort of big decision, it's good to give it time. It's good to give it enough room and space to really look at it and go, okay, what am I observing here? What have I planted here? What do I want to plant here? For myself and my future. Say it with me, this week. I'll see you next time. Keep your light on. Good luck.